to Flashback. We're looking at issue number 4 of the Star Trek Starship collection. It is obviously the Enterprise NX-01. It's NX class. Here is the model. It's quite a sturdy model. We'll have a look at that in just a second. Let's go through the book. So it's got 7 decks. It's 225 meters long, launched in 2151. This was the 4th issue to be released from the Star Trek Starship collection, and it was released on the 2nd of the 10th, 2013. Now remember that, the 2nd of the 10th, 2013. I'll explain why. So here we have the nice stats. The specs of the NX class. So it's obviously operated by Starfleet. NX-01. Measurement of decks. Crew standard of 83. It was Earth's first Warp 5 ship. It obviously has phase cannons. It had nuclear torpedoes and then photonic torpedoes later on. And that went through the series. It's a nice view here, and some this. Also, this was never a physical model. This was a CG ship. So there was never actually a model of it. Then we get a really nice view here of it over Earth. A lot of in-universe information, as always, and very in-depth as well. So it's a primitive ship, Earth's first Warp 5 ship as well. So it's got that going for it. Very primitive, so most ships normally docked with it. The phase cannons sort of popped out. These were the phase cannons here. It's got some interesting designs on it as well. I mean, it took some absolute beatings over the course of the series. I really mean absolute beatings, and still survived. It's one tough little ship, that's for sure. Now, in the first episode, they did this first flight, which was a homage to the Star Trek The Motion Picture when the Enterprise left space dock, and it's the same sort of process that they used for Enterprise when it left space dock. And yeah, it's just a nice little throwback, really, and a nice nod as well. I kind of liked it as well. That was quite cool. But obviously the Enterprise B obviously launched from dry dock as well. So yeah, it's got like an Enterprise lineage going forward. Also, it's worth noting that in the motion picture, Kirk utters words, "Take her out safe and steady." I do believe it's along those sort of lines. And actually, Captain Archer says that in Enterprise. So so Kirk actually borrowed it from Archer. That's quite nice. But it's a tribute to a classic moment there. Yep, so it didn't have shields, Enterprise, no. It had to polarize a hull, which is basically sending like an electrical charge through the hull to sort of strengthen it, I would imagine. But it never had anything. Also, it's worth noting as well, it's something that's really interesting about Enterprise, is it has cargo doors. Now, these are on the top. They're also on the bottom, and in actual fact, they can both open, and you can fly directly through the ship, because it goes right through from the top to the bottom. Just a little quirky thing there that Enterprise has. Obviously a primitive deflector dish at the front, impulse engines at the back here. This is a nice overview of the ship as we see it here. So now what I was saying about the 2nd of the 10th, 2013, this is when it was released. And when the designers said, okay, we're going to design a primitive Enterprise, one before the TOS Enterprise, Kirk's Enterprise, this was the designs that they were going for. And if you think that looks a little bit familiar, because in actual fact, it's the design the Enterprise is in Discovery. So a lot of people are very much bashed about the Enterprise in Discovery, saying it doesn't look right, it's not right. In actual fact, it was actually going to be Enterprise in Star Trek Enterprise originally. So this was going to be like a primitive version of Enterprise, of the USS Enterprise. And it actually is. it's a really nice little thing here. Remember, this come out in 2013, and the new series come out in 2017, 2017-18. So yeah, don't hate it, because this is what it was originally supposed to be. But anyway, this is, goes along the design and what they wanted. They did reject this offer to say it looked a little bit too much like, or too futuristic. So they went with the basic design, and they stole it from. They got inspiration from this ship here, which we'll be doing in the series. This is really nice. So when the designing aspect, we actually get like a breakdown basically of the ship, on where the engine room is, the bridge and sick bay and the shuttle bays and stuff like that. And they really went all out here. We have the master system layout here, and then we have like the torpedo tubes, grappling hooks, because there was no tractor beams in those days, phase cannons as well. And they really went all out on trying to really primitize the ship, so it wasn't too futuristic sort of thing. That's why it looks, you got a lot more panel design on it, and the corridors are all metal, and it just has this sort of submarine sort of boxed in look, which is, you know, what it should really be. Then becoming the Enterprise NX-01. So when season 4 started, this was what they really wanted, was the NX-01.5, which is like an upgraded version, which gave it an engineering hull and a little deflector. It's really nice noting that Eagle Moss actually did this as a special. Never appeared on screen, but it was so close to appearing on screen. It was so close. And they've done loads of designs for it, but with budget restrictions and with the cancellation of the series, it never came to be. But effectively, this is what it would have evolved into. So it was going to evolve in closer to the TOS Enterprise. But here we have a nice back photo of it. I will be doing a flashback episode on it, so it's worth just clicking us and having a subscribe. Then we get some trivia. Obviously, it appeared in every single episode of Enterprise, from Broken Bowl to These Are the Voyages, which I don't really think is an Enterprise episode. I think it's more of a Next Gen episode. But anyway, that's for another discussion. Obviously, issue 5 was the Romulan Warbird, and we'll be having a look at that. So make sure you click to subscribe. So, without further ado, here she is. And yep, so the it clicks in just in there. Let's take a little look at her, because it's really detailed, and such a nice ship as well. Never one that they've produced in other ways, but I mean, this is the first time it's been produced in this sort of detail as well. I mean, you go back to some of these older ships and you just think, wow, they're just so good. The impulse engines there. I mean, there's so much detail on this. So we have like this panel effect that they have on quite a few of their ships, but it's really nice. And this one is so detailed as well. We've got the running lights there, red, green, and this is just the underside. And then we come up here, we've got some more detailing effects here, and the shuttle bays that I mentioned. So you've got two here, like the cargo bays, I should say, not shuttle bays. They're the shuttle bays, I do believe, at the back here. But these cargo bays, so basically they are mirrored. So if they opened this one and this one, you could actually fly through the whole ship. So that's quite a nifty little thing. Yeah, I mean, it's so detailed. I mean, we've got the light, this the see-through plastic on the nacelles here. If I can zoom up on that. It's not really bringing up too well, but it is there. And the little see-through Bussard collector at the front there. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm trying to get a little bit more close up on this. Oh. I mean, the panel lines, the windows, it's just so nicely detailed. A deflector dish as well, and they've been able to paint the blue in there. I mean, this has got to be one of the best. You know, when the collection ends, this for me has got to be in the top 10. Got to be. It's just such a nice ship that they've made, considering how old it is as well. It's so nice. And if you're a fan of Enterprise, then this is you just need to get it. And obviously, if you're a fan of Star Trek, get it anyway, because it's just so nice. I know some people sort of decide which ships to get and which ones to get. This for me is in the top 10. So if you're deciding on which ships to get this ship. This is such a nice ship, very detailed. I'm just going to turn off the light because it's showing it as a little bit orange. Let me just do that. And it is more of a silver colour, but for some reason it's coming up at a different colour here. But yeah, I mean, even around the sides here, there's detail. But it's such a nice ship. Anyway, that is it for Flashback this time around. Remember to join us every week for an episode of Flashback where we look back at some of the old Starship ships from the Eagle Moss collection, as we will be going through them all. Anyway, that is it from us. Click to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next video.